way. I'll share this. Okay, and let me know if you don't see the presentation.
Hello?
Everything good? Okay. So our today's presentation is going to be how to target the Korean market in the endemic era. First, we will start off by talking a little bit about the Korean corona status and related policies. We will be followed by the Korea travel trend in the corona ages, and afterwards we will talk a little bit about the travel agency information and also the airline status from Korea to Israel. Finally, we will have our office's activity here in Korea being introduced to you guys, and have lastly a 10-minute session for questions and answers. So let's start away. Okay, so first of all, the corona status. It's currently not looking good. We have, as of July 25th, new confirmed cases of 99,000, a little over 99,000 people being confirmed on a daily basis. So on a 7-day average, we had about a little shy of 70,000 patients confirmed with COVID. So it's not looking good. As of the total number of COVID, it's at 19.3 million. If we look into the vaccination rate of Korea, it's currently, the primary is at 87.8%, secondary is at 86.9%, it's almost at 87%. And the tertiary vaccination rate is at 65%, which means over the majority of our population have been vaccinated at least 3 times, and which qualifies for overseas travels for most of the countries in the world. And then let's look at the related policies. We have a new quarantine measure for entry to Korea. We introduced a new online application app called Q-Code system. It's a you can download it from the internet very easily, and you can input all of the information necessary. You don't have to do any handwriting, and you're in the airplanes prior to landing, and it makes the customs and immigration much more easier. All of the information is in this the small the QR code here. But basically, the necessary conditions for entries to to Korea from anywhere in the world, you have to have at least a negative PCR certificate or a negative antigen test performed 48 hours before departure. So these are the essential information. Now let's look at the trends and the statistics. First of all, in the year 2000, starting from year 2000 to 2003, we had about 7.1 million travelers traveling overseas. At that time, we also had the disease SARS being prevalent in Korea, which slowly decreased the numbers, but it rapidly increased by 2019 by 9.5 million travelers to overseas. At this time, we also had the swine flu epidemic, which slowly decreased the number, or slowly decreased the acceleration rates of the outbound statistics, but it sharply increased from 2016 to 2019 before COVID, reaching at 28.7 million travelers. We have a total of 55 million population in Korea right now. So you can see that over half of our population traveled overseas, and you can see that our market potential is very high. But because of COVID, like the rest of the world, our numbers sharply decreased to 1.2 million, and currently it's standing at 1.9 million. We hope that this number will increase and recover back to the pre-COVID days as soon as possible. But it can only happen with the flight accessibility, which is having a difficult time because of also the sharp increase in gas prices. Looking more into the details, let's look at the Korean travelers' arrivals to Israel in 2022, this year. You can see that we have about about the 3 million part. It's actually 3,000 travelers from January to June this year. We hope that we can increase this number at least 2 times to 6,000 or 9,000 travelers to Israel by the end of this year. We hope that we can increase this number to 3 times the number of current number if the flight accessibility is improved. And I will explain this a little further when I explain about the flight status in the later part of this presentation. Oh, and also I would like to let you know that before COVID, we had about 60,000 travelers traveling to Israel from Korea. Now, since we've looked at the numbers, why don't we look at more into the contents of the travel trends of Koreans after COVID? First of all, the main differences that happened are, first, the reservations are now mostly going through OTA platforms, and our preference for travels has been changed from group tours to FIT. And also there has been diversification of travel behaviors as well. So looking more into detail, let's look at the diversification of travel channels. There has been much of a change here during the COVID days. Many of the travel agencies have changed their platforms, and they are concentrating much of their marketing power to changing their platforms online. And you can see from here that even the most top 20 travel agencies have been focusing on TV home shopping channels, and also mobile social commerces on mega search portals such as Naver, which is equivalent of Google in Korea, or instant messenger app system, which is Kakao in Korea. It's like WhatsApp, instant messenger, and they have a social commerce platform embedded in their applications. So travel agencies, the mega travel agencies in Korea, collaborate with these IT tech companies as well to make travel sales. And this is becoming very prevalent in Korea right now. Another change in the travel methods is that the group tours have decreased. In year 2002, it was around about 39% of the market share. Now it's decreased to 18%. Most of the Koreans, because so much travel information is available online these days, people want individually tailored travel. So this has been prevalent in Korea. So what the travel agencies are now mostly focusing on are flight and hotel packages, and also tailored FIT travels. And lastly, looking at the travel behavior, you can see that because of much information is available worldwide in travels, the travel destination information are also very important, and Koreans are looking into these travel destination informations. And because there are so many options available now, people want to go to different locations other than where they know already, which are popular, such as Europe or America or the Australia. It's already very popular, so they want to go to exotic destinations such as Israel. And so before COVID, this was the slowly trending movement from the traditional, when you think about the traditional long distance destinations, it was mostly the US markets, the European markets. But now people want to go to exotic destinations as well. So I believe Israel fits in nicely in this exotic destination for the FIT travels as well. So we hope that the market share can be increased in this field as well. And now let's look at the changes in overseas travel trends in terms of numbers. We've done a survey, the Korea Travel Organization has done a survey and travel in the endemic era from April to May this year. And we had a total respondents of 5,500 people. And they said that the willingness to travel abroad within next year was at 47% definitely want to go within next year. And 41% said they would like to go, whereas only 9% said they don't want to go. So this is, we can see that the willingness to travel overseas is very, very high. And also, I would like to point out that the change in preferred travel destinations, like I mentioned before, have changed. where people want to go to safe destinations, such as Europe or USA, which are known to be more safe towards COVID, while there has been a decrease in Thailand or Vietnam, or the traditional Southeast Asian markets, where people think that COVID is pretty dangerous in these locations. So there has been that trend as well. Also, if you look at some of the other trends, nature travel and virtual tours have increased, as well as package tours, whereas solo travel or prenatal travel have decreased. I want to explain a little bit more about the package tours. If you look at the current situation in package tours here in Korea right now, I'm talking about general package tours, like such as tours to USA or Europe. There is a high probability of cancellation happening. This is due to the constantly changing corona situation in each country. And because of these changes, these travel rates are decreasing. But we have some positive news for special interest tours and incentives tours, such as pilgrimage travels. They are actually continuously going upward. The trend is increasing, and it is without cancellation for the most of the part. Why is this? It's because pilgrimage tour, it's a very special interest tour where people have a very high urge, high desire to go to meet Jesus in Israel, and it's something that won't change due to Corona. So they are mostly looking for the best possible flight access and the best possible package prices to enter the Israel market. So this is good news for you guys. Let's now look at the summary of the travel trends. The top 5 factors to consider when selecting overseas travel destinations for Koreans are, first of all, the preference of destinations. So special interest destinations like Israel is very high. And the next thing they look at is, like I said, price points. So economic travel packages will be very popular. And the conditions of entry, like the entry policies, will also affect their willingness to travel, as well as the corona confirmed cases and vaccination rates. Another general theme that the Korean travelers prefer are relaxation and recreation, and what they can eat, the gourmet foods that they can eat in the particular destinations. So these are duplicate responses. That's why the numbers are pretty high for both parts. But these are the travel trends for Korea. Now let's look at the travel agency information. First of all, the preference for the majority of South Koreans, we can kind of split it into 3 folds, where the OTA flights and hotels booking is at 55%, while package deal bookings is around almost 26%, and airtel, which is air flights and hotel bookings, are about 20%. And also, if you look at the TA dynamics, you can see that there is an existence of a niche market for specialized travel. Traditional travel agents still have a strong market presence in the religious, the corporate, and the incentive markets, as well as the honeymoon, golfing, cruising, and luxury markets. And also the silver over 60s market packages are still very strong in Korea. So like I said, although the trend towards FIT is going much higher in Korea and is very prevalent, still there is a good number of niche market that you can enter, like the special interest markets, which, like I've just told you about in the sections here. And also what the travel agencies can always count on are discount packages, the last minute deals, the early bird deals, and the seasonal deals. So you can see that these niche markets are very important for your entry points. Now, let me introduce you to the leading top companies in Korea. You can see that at number 1, we have Hana Tour, which has about over 3 million outbound volume. And they are a wholesaler, and they also do OTA sales as well. Their sector of activity is actually they're all-rounder. They do everything. And Motor is at second, and they have less than 3 million outbound volume, and they focus mostly on charter Gulf packages and round trips and MICE packages as well. They are also OTA and wholesalers. Yellow Balloon Tour also is a OTA and wholesaler. Very good tour. They focus mostly on round trips and package sales. They're also OTA and wholesalers. Interpark Tour is the #1 domestic OTA in Korea, and they focus mostly on round trips and honeymoons, and these days mostly FITs. We have also Tour Baksa, which is a retailer. They focus mostly on round trips and FIT packages. Neo Tour also focuses on round trips and FITs and MICE. They are also a retailer. And Lotte Tour is also a very strong travel agency focusing mostly on package, and they are a wholesaler. And we have also Online and Hanjin Travel. By the way, Hanjin Travel is a subsidiary of Korean Air company, and they're also a wholesaler. We have currently talks with Korean Hanjin Travel for charter flight options to Israel.
How many of them are working already with Israel?
Currently, if you're asking about the questions of having a land operator, Lotte used to work with one, and Hanjin used to work with one. Currently, none of them are working.
All of them are not really marketing Israel right now. They are not on the shelf there.
Well, they are always interested in this market, but as you can see, they are the top 10 countries. So their current focus is in the traditional markets, but they are realizing the importance of special interest destinations. Because Israel is a special interest destination for pilgrimage, they are now focusing a little bit more attention to Israel than before. This is becoming the trend. And then there's the top OTAs. Again, Hana Tour, Interpark Online Tour. And we have Yanolja, which is actually more focused on the domestic markets. If I were you, I would focus mostly on Hana Tour, Interpark, and Privia Travel, which is at the very end of this list, because they are the fast growing travel brand, online travel. And they also have an online travel mall for premium card members. So I think this is the best tapping points that you can reach right now. I will also include the contact points for these Korean travel agencies along with my presentation at the end of the presentation, so that you can contact them readily. Now let's look at the airline status from Korea to Israel. Currently, because of the Abraham Pact, we've had some good positive new openings from Etihad and Emirates. But let me first introduce you with Korean Air. Korean Air currently does not operate its flights from Incheon to Tel Aviv. We hope that we will resume their flights at earliest by the end of this year, but it's looking like the realistic version will be that they will be starting next year, possibly at the second half of next year. Before COVID, they operated 3 times per week to Israel. Turkish Airlines is very actively going to Israel right now. It's having weekly flights of 11 weekly frequency flights to Israel. And Etihad Airlines is operating also from Abu Dhabi, and it has 7 weekly frequencies. And Emirates also from Dubai operates 5 times per week. And this is all this present from July that I'm introducing you. So this is the most current information that you can get right now. Uzbekistan Airlines will be operating after August from Tashkent to Tel Aviv, but their connection possibility will be at least once a week. And Cathay Pacific is also trying to operate after October from Incheon, Hong Kong to Tel Aviv, and the connection will be at least once. But we're looking at 2 times per week right now. Excuse me. And Aeroflot is currently not working because of Russia, and we don't know when it will continue back. We hope that it could be very soon, but I talked to Aeroflot's director yesterday, and the director does not even know when the flight resumption can happen. It doesn't seem like it will be happening this year. El Al is only operating 5 times from Bangkok to Tel Aviv. Okay, let's now look at our office's activities. Currently, we have the travel trade meetup that happened in May. And if you ask the question, why didn't it happen earlier in the year? It was because we had Corona regulations and people couldn't gather, and the regulations only elevated in May. So that's why we had it. And we actively promoted the restart of tourism to Israel on a face-to-face level. We had it at the Namdaemun Marriott Hotel in Seoul, and we had about 50 participants, which is a very, very high number. And the participants were mostly executive level. All of the airliners that go to Israel mostly participated. Although Korean Air does not operate right now, they were there for the interest for resumptions in the future times. And El Al, Cathay Pacific, Turkish Air, Etihad, Emirates, Polish Air all participated and did a presentation on their flight status, and the marketing activities that they wanted to present were given to the public at that time. From the embassy, the ambassador participated and gave a welcoming speech. And from the top 4 travel agencies, we had Hana Tour, Mode Tour, and Interpark, and Hanjin Lotte come to our gathering. And there were also about 20 pilgrimage travel agencies that came as well. The presentations were given about our office's marketing plan and strategy for this year. And also we talked about the Israel entry policies, and we gave an analysis of the Korean travel market. And also we talked about the Israel travel market environments analysis and our marketing objective and target for Israel. And most importantly, they were very interested to hear about the Israel and Korean entry policies and the 6 airliners' flight schedules. I would like to mention that from this meeting, we had a very, very high popular response back from especially the flight airliners. We introduced the pilgrimage travel agencies and the persons in charge of the flights of airliners together, and they got the most recent information about Israel. And because of this new connection and an introduction, we had a very high soaring of reservations from the travel agencies from the pilgrimage side. So you can see that the interest level was very high. So I believe that we should have this kind of travel trade meetup on a roadshow level at the end of this year, with the Israeli travel agencies participating, as you can see here, because the participation was about 50 people, and they were all executive level. You can see from that the interest level was very high. And these are some of the pictures from the event. This is our ambassador to Korea, Akiva Tour, participating in the welcoming speech, and he also attended and talked to some of the travel industry experts here. Another event that I would like to introduce you is the Seoul International Travel Fair that we had in June, not too long ago. And we had about 400 participants on our booth. But overall, the visitation was about 37,000, and about 400 booths from 226 organizations participated. And overseas countries were at 40. Now let's look at the details. From our booth, as I said, there are about 400 visitors to our booth, and mostly they were curious about whether Israel is open and if we can travel to Israel right now, which meant that obviously more PR and heavy marketing was necessary for Israel market. And it was a good time to check with to see the perception level of the Korean markets and its customers, what they think and what their interests are. And we realized that we need to conduct a mega online campaign to raise the awareness generation that Israel is open and that no tests are necessary, like the COVID PCR tests are not necessary to enter Israel. And the second things they inquired about were there any direct flights, or what are the accessible flight options to Israel? They also inquired about where are the good places to visit in Israel, and if they can do a family trip to Israel. And if they travel to Israel, is it possible to travel with Egypt and Jordan options as well as a package tour? What are the connecting flight options to Israel? So these were basically the main questions that were raised from the fair. And we also had a very good PR level from the press releases that we did. We had good coverages. At least 10 media outlets covered our participation, and we did some press meetings and with the ambassador as well. And we also had 20 B2B meetings with travel agencies, including Hana Tour and Mode Tour, and different OTAs as well. So the interest levels for Israel as a travel destination, not just for pilgrimage, was very high. And also we had events for the general public. We did some quiz events and also a photo. You can see that here we've made a photo zone for the travelers to have pictures and taken as a souvenir. Some of the upcoming events for this year are, first of all, the most important one is two things that I'd like to mention. One of them is the Israel seminar for the church leaders in Seoul. And we've done this numerous times over the years, and we hope to do it this year as well to raise the interest level to Israel. And we would like for them to for the pilgrimage travel agencies to participate so that we can conduct sales immediately on site together with the event that we're holding. Usually what we do is we have a speaker come in to talk about the Israel pilgrimage travel trends, the latest information that is happening to Israel. And we also give a session for the pilgrimage travel agencies to advertise about their products. So this is the main event that we hope to hold in October, and the dates will be confirmed once we have the confirmation with the headquarters. Another main event that we would like to hold is the Israel Travel Roadshow that happens with other IGTO offices worldwide, and we want to conduct in Korea in November, but tentative date was actually November 8th, but we want to align this with at least one of the other IGTO markets, preferably the Philippines market. And if possible, we want to hold it so that you can participate both in one other IGTO office in Asia and then come to Korea, or vice versa, so that you can actually save your time. And the main activities that we do here are, of course, the most important ones are the B2B matchmaking sessions, where we hope to have at least 20 to 25 travel agencies participate, the Korean travel agencies, and at least 5 airliners from the that go to Israel. And we would like to have at least 5 Israeli inbound travel agencies participate, but we hope that it could be more than 5. We hope that, so that's why I'm advertising today, to see if you can all participate. And to pique your interest, we're doing the presentation, hopefully another time before the roadshow to pique your interest. Normally, what we do at the roadshow is we give a presentation about the marketing strategies for our office, and we also give a forecast for the industry for Israel, and we also do some sub activities where we have Israel travel agencies and also airliner promote their presentations about their travel packages and travel informations, and give video presentations, as well as do a lucky draw for the participants there. Of course, we will hold a media roundtable conjoined with this roadshow to give more PR activities and make it more viral. Basically, this is the main event that will take place for this year. Of course, we have some sub activities, but these are the main things that I wanted to share for this with you today. I am a little bit, it's about some 5:40 here. We have about 20 minutes left, but if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, I have a question. First of all, in the past, 90%, if not more, all the travel industry in Korea went directly. They had tour guides or whatever called as tour guides, and they handle all the work without any Israeli tour operators. Do you think that they have any reason to believe that this will be changed?
I believe that there will always be some illegal Korean travel tour guides that will operate in Israel. But I believe that because the trend towards the Korean market is moving more towards the FIT market, and because the main role players are also moving towards the top 10 travel agencies as well, which means that, you know, they are not like these small pilgrimage agencies that you've dealt with in the past. They are big, very big travel agencies. Like I told you before, we had about 3 million outbound travelers from
No, but I'm sorry, I missed one detail from your information, is how much into Israel was FIT and how much was groups into Israel. Means that I think that most of the business from Korea is not FIT. It's groups and pilgrimage groups. The FIT business is not really going into Israel. It's the short haul into China, Vietnam, and Europe maybe, but Israel is mainly a tour group destination.
That is very true. You are very accurate with that. But I would like to tell you that, like I explained in this presentation, there is a slowly moving trend towards the FIT market. At the time before pre-COVID, we were standing around about 85% is group tours or package tours, and the 15% were actually some were vision tours and some were actually FIT.
Yeah, but the FIT was mainly business people. It was not tourists. You're talking about, if you're talking about the real tourist from Korea, it's misleading. I'm sorry, but it's misleading to say that this is the business between Korea and Israel is very strong, and every FIT that goes into Israel as a businessman considered to be as a FIT traveler, but it's not it's really not a FIT tourist. It's a businessman that come to do business. Maybe he used 1 or 2 days to do something on his own, but I don't see, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see the FIT market coming into Israel as a tourist destination, maybe a business destination.
I want to add to what Moshe is saying. I'm sure this is the trend, what you mentioned. The problem is that Israel as a destination is not a friendly one to FIT tourists. And I mean, even though it's a trend that we should embrace, I don't see it's going to be develop in our market, and we're still going to be around the groups. And in that point, I would like also to refer to Sofia and to the Ministry of Tourism. First of all, these tourist guides that are working in our market are being approved by our Ministry of Tourism, because they have a working permission that is being given to them after they had a course as it is in Israel. And I mean, it's absurd, but actually the one who are giving them the entrance to the market are the Ministry of Tourism. And Sofia, I think you should at least try to see if this crisis and the revival of the market will enable to reorganize this situation where we have people outside of our country that do not leave any taxes here, taking the money directly to their whatever. This is like a black market with the permission of the country. So this is one issue that I would love to see how the Ministry of Tourism is. The other things that come out of what was said here, we need the Ministry of Tourism to help us to engage this market. And what I'm saying, it maybe you've talked about roadshow, but I think we should do something together. I mean, the tourists from our association with the Ministry of Tourism maybe have a special website, because it was mentioned there that at least decision-making process is happening online, that together with the Ministry of Tourism will create some online arm that will allow us to be introduced to the market and help us to negotiate and meet these 10 big guys. Firstly, the three that was recommended, and I think the role of the Ministry of Tourism here is highly important. If you send us separately to do it, it would be tough, because many of our members do not believe in this market, because the way it is being managed with these local guides that are working. So this is a few issues for the ministry maybe to help and to try to help us to go into this market.
First, thank you for your comment. I do want to mention that there are good cooperations with Israel land operators, with some of the Israel Korean traditional pilgrimage travel agencies as well. Naftali is one. We've had good talks with Sarel. We've had some with Yoidoful Gospel Church, with some other Israel travel agencies. There are participations and there are cooperations happening. It's not happening on the level that that you want. The rate is not fast enough for you, but I believe that the Korean market, it will have a black market. There will be a portion that will be a black market, but if we can have a very big mega online campaign and heavy PR, Korean market is where there is a very high potential for the market to actually break and outburst with an influx of travelers to Israel. And I'm not talking in the 60,000s, I'm talking in the 100,000s. And how can this be possible? It's because, as you know, Korea is a very online savvy market where our internet penetration level is at 99%. And if you're very familiar with the Chinese market, in this aspect, Korea is also very similar. So you can think of Korea and the Chinese market to be internet savvy, very savvy, and most of the activities are done online, and which means that the FIT market, if PR'd in the correct way, will have a lot of travelers coming in, and this can happen through popular Korean celebrities cooperating with us to advertise about Israel travels through Korean dramas or Korean K-pop or Korean influencers such as Instagrammers and through Facebook, but mostly Instagram is the most popular mode of advertising here in Korea right now. So we should definitely do some heavy PR in this aspect where we can raise the awareness level that will totally drive this market at a different level, and that is when the FIT will come in.
Yeah, and this is the opportunity here to overcome the situation with the black market. I mean, the black market right now is the majority; it's not a minority. But I really embrace your recommendation to go online, and this is a challenge for the Ministry of Tourism, Sofia, that we will not be part of the general campaign that the ministry is holding around the world, but building a task force, a campaign that will be targeted South Korea with a special site together with us. We can do something jointly that will actually create a new situation between us and South Korea and working there, because the tourist guide will be less relevant. And us, with the Ministry of Tourism, that will do it again with a special campaign that is targeting South Korea, not part of the general campaign that is being rolled out all over the world. I think there is a very interesting chance for us to enter into this market that we were left out in the last decade or more.
I think we should consider some online activity such as you're suggesting. We'll look into it.
I'll cooperate with Sofia fully. Thank you for your comments.
יש עוד שאלות, רבותיי?
Honestly, I mean, I'm working in Asia since the 80s. The Korean market was and still is a black hole. It's not a market that I'm working everywhere. I don't see the change, and I don't think the Minister of Tourism is interested in a change in the way of behavior in what you call black market. The black market is the market, okay? They have here and there travel agents that works with local travel agency, but the market is the market, the black market. I don't see change. FIT market on the high end, maybe it's relevant. Hotel bookings only, it's not worthwhile because the OTAs can go directly to the hotels, to the systems, and basically we as tour operator are left out, and we will be left out in the future unless there will be changes. I don't know.
אני בדיכאון מוחלט כבר, אתה יכול להמשיך, אני תכף מתחיל לבכות. תגיד גם משהו חיובי.
So there's one thing that I want to address you, Mushiki. One thing is that, first of all, the top 10 travel agencies are in Korea. I am in good contact with them, and I can assure you that they want to work with you guys. They are interested in your cooperation. But what they're also interested in is what kind of rates you can provide them with. If you give very competitive rates, they will surely work with you anytime, very soon, even today. So you have to have good negotiations with them. But I can tell you that they are very interested in working with you. Not just it's not.
Israel is not a market for in competing in prices, especially when you're coming from South Korea. This is not the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an expensive package, a sophisticated package. The experience is it's not something that you buy to go like for a weekend or whatever. If you are coming from South Korea, it's at less for a week. It's not going to be cheap, and I don't think the issue is mainly the price. But of course, the price is an issue. You mentioned other trends that are important to be outside, motivation with the niche. This is the added value where we, as a tour operator, can create the added value that will, the focus will not be on the price. The price is up to the hotels and other suppliers. Mainly, our commission was never the problem, with all due respect. So, price of Israel is a factor.
Okay, well, that's some of the news that I've heard from the Hana Tours, that they've contacted several Israel land operators, and one of them was, the commissions were a bit high. So anyway, that's one of the answers that I received.
Well, that's a market question. This is not our...
עכשיו גם נפתחו כל הבתי מלון נפתחו. Now all the hotels are climbing down from the trees that they were hanged with the prices 2 or 3 weeks ago. More hotels are open, prices are...
Very good news.
Can I just emphasize something a little bit about the pricing?
Sure.
We get a lot of quote requests from Korean agencies, and eventually we fall down because the price is too high. But our main reason to make it so high is that we need to add the legal guide, because they would like to have a Korean guide, usually a pastor, to escort them, but we also need someone with license. So we always have two costs for the guides. And that's where we fall down. And I know there's some, not black market agencies that kind of give them the lowest rate possible. And we always lose the groups for that. So I think we need to do some cooperation with the office to help us.
Minister of Tourism does not do anything. They will punish us if we will be without a licensed guide, but once their tours are going on, the Ministry of Tourism totally ignore the unlegal or unlicensed operators. This is nothing to do with the lady in Korea. It's nothing to do with Sophie, because she does the system.
It had to do with Sophie, because these two guys are getting permission to work in Israel with the recommendation and approval of the Ministry of Tourism. Listen to what I'm saying here.
As far as I know, the only people who are allowed to work as tour guides in Israel are those who have Israeli citizenship.
No.
So it's not true. You are misleading the guys around here.
לא משנה, לעזוב את זה. אני חושב שסופיה הבינה את המסר. אנחנו גם נדבר איתם.
נבדוק.
Okay.
We'll check that.
I'm sorry that you are in line of fire, Miss Joe, but you are not supposed to be there.
Everyone that meet Mushi is in the line of fire. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I understand that there is.
But today he said he's sorry, so we're okay.
Yes.
But I thank you for the presentation. It was very professional, very interesting. A lot of fruit for thinking for us, and appreciated, and it was really interesting. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I think we should thank you. I want to join Yossi in thanking you and for the professional work that you did today, as usual. And I would like to emphasize the invitation for our partners to join into this kind of event that we are offering, the roadshow. If there is interest, we will move forward with it. We would like to hear just on the interest basis. We will start organizing it. And we'll check all the issues that you raised. Yes.
Send the proposal in writing, or maybe send it out, and then you'll...
First of all, one of the things, we need to have long-term plans. I cannot get it like I got Asta 3 weeks before it happens.
Of course.
It's nothing to do, and we have other plans, we have other schedules that we do in advance. And then you come up and say, oh, in 2 weeks we have a roadshow in Timbuktu. It doesn't work.
No, this is the reason that we are approaching this issue in July and not in October.
October is full because they have
November.
No, we're talking about November.
Okay.
So one thing that I would like to ask you guys today is, if we hold the, let's say the tentative date for the roadshow would be November 8th, would you be able to participate as of now?
Probably it's around the World Travel Market the same time in London.
No, you have to do it. You have to do it a different date later on in November.
WTM.
Otherwise, we will not be able to take part on it. I just come back from Asia after ITB Asia. And ITB Asia, I cannot be on the road all the time. I'm considering, I might consider Korea, even though I think that this is a waste of money for us to travel because of the situation of the market and because of what is going on. You have to see. I don't know. I mean, I'm not as Elat, I think, said. We are offering, once we are offered a license guide in the game, we are out of the market because we have 2 guides, and basically it's kind of control because they're afraid that the Korean tour guides or the pastors will not join because they are using a local operator. So they say no, I don't want to be part of the tour.
We will try to tackle this issue this year.
Okay. I will, as I said, I'm working in all over Asia, including China. I was big enough in China to know the behavior of Chinese market was totally different than the Korean market. They didn't work with local Chinese. They work with the Israeli tour operators. Israelis, Arabs, doesn't matter, but they had a tour operator. Yeah.
חייב ללכת להופעה שאתה הלכת אתמול של אבי ביטר. חייב ללכת איתך להופעה הזאת.
מה זה?
חייב ללכת איתך להופעות של אבי ביטר שאתה הולך בערב לפני שאתה בא לזה.
טוב, הכל בסדר.
אוקיי.
Yeah.
We will do everything on our part to fully cooperate with you guys.
Whatever she says is very correctly. We need to work with our ministry here, and it was enjoyable to see you and the way that you are working and presenting things. This is a good sign.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for all your interest and your time as well.
Thank you, Jules.
Thank you all.
Okay, so it was very great to see you. And if you have any comments as to what you want to hear on our next presentation, just let me know and I will incorporate it in our presentation. So thank you all for your time. Have a great day.
Make sure that at least every 6 months we'll meet somehow through the Zoom. It will be a good thing.
Yes, I will organize it with Sophie.
Yes.
Any chance we can get the presentation you showed? Because
of course,
you will.
I will go through with Batya to make sure that you receive it.
We have a record of the meeting that we'll send out in the newsletter as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
תודה רבה לכולם.
מה קרה?
כן, אבל לפי מה שאני מבינה הוא